Hi, everyone. Welcome to Relatively Sane. I decided to talk about the things that I miss in the beginning of this podcast because I do miss a lot of things. And there are things that I don't miss. For example, I miss hanging out at comedy clubs with my friends a lot. I miss that a lot. That has been very, very hard. And I, of course, miss doing stand-up. I miss sitting in restaurants, and I miss going to work out at the gym because I would go twice a day, and it really helped me. You know, I'd work out 2 hours each time. And I just felt so much better about myself when I would go and work on my triceps and my and the muscles in my, I felt a lot better about myself, and it really helped my endorphin needs get better. So I really need to start working out again, even if it means that I need to lift my car or break down a wall or chop a tree, whatever I have to do to get myself moving. I don't miss what don't I miss? I don't miss being around tons of people. I know that's crazy because I said I want to hang out with my friends at the comedy club and do shows, but I'm kind of an isolator even when I do that. I don't sit with really large groups. I don't love concerts anymore. I don't miss all of that. I don't miss being around a ton of people, and I don't miss the traveling. I have to say, being in airports and being on airplanes. I don't even know what would happen to me if I was in an airport and someone like sneezed and didn't cover their face, or I don't know. I don't even know what I would do. I mean, I probably would attack them and it would be fine because I'm white, so I won't be arrested or beaten. So anyway, I thought I'd start the podcast with this because it's very upbeat and uplifting, and it make you guys not think about what's going on in the world. I love you all so much. I am so grateful for your support. Please follow me on Instagram, YouPorn, Weight Watchers, and Canada.com. Thank you so much. I love you all. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Relatively Sane. I am here with my friend Matt Braunger. Did I say your name right?
You nailed it on the dot. That's really right.
Are you kidding me?
Nope. You did it. Yeah, exactly. Just like Stronger. That's how you say it.
You're like me, because my name is Kirson, but everyone says Kirson. So right. I'm like Kirson, like person.
Mm-hmm. Did you grow up when people would call and ask for your mother or father? You could tell if they were like a telemarketer by how bad they put your name.
What are some examples of what people would say if they called your house?
I mean, we're basically no holds barred here, right? I can say anything?
Anything.
Okay. Because usually I would just be like, they'd be like, yeah, can I speak to Mr. Braunger? Can I speak to Mr. Braunger? And it's just like, I was like, okay. And I never corrected him. I'd be like, that's telemarketer. But the one time as a kid, I corrected someone, and they were like, yes, can I speak to Mr. and Mrs. Braunegger? I'm like, oh. Okay.
Oh my God.
Like, that's not
horrible.
Sir, something inside of you wanted to say that word so bad.
That is so funny.
Yo,
can I speak to Mr. Brown Bear?
So off.
Where did you grow up?
Portland, Oregon.
I love Portland.
It's great. Yeah. It's funny. I joke that like now it got cool after I left, it was a great place to grow up, but like, it was not the way it is now. Same livability, but not the same, when you mention now people are like, ooh, Paris, like they just are in love with it. But like when I was a kid, I went to college in New York, and all my classmates would be like, oh, well, Braunger's from Seattle. I'm like, I'm not. I'm from 3 hours away. Cause
they think it's the same thing. A lot of people
because they've never heard of it.
So
Portland
funny.
doesn't stick in their mind, and you're like, where's that near? And they're like, oh, Seattle. Just like if you were from like Far Rockaway, Queens or something, and people are like, people from other part of the country are just like, oh, she's from Manhattan. You're like, nope. It's not.
I know you're from like Syracuse. She grew up in the city of Manhattan. It's like, no, I grew up in a mountain. Yeah. Was it very liberal when you were growing up there, like it is now?
Oh my God! Like it's funny. You've got this. It's very liberal, but then you go out in the sticks, and it's just very kind of every person for themselves kind of thing. I don't know what you call that. Like kind of make far right libertarian kind
like
of.
It is now.
Yeah, there's still a lot
It's
of that.
becoming like that.
It is. It's
Yeah.
yeah, but it's because it's one of those things. It's very liberal, but at the same time, Oregon was originally founded as a state for white people. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you have roots like that, they're going to
Right.
come out in certain ways. But it is wild how like my parents. I remember going to a backyard barbecue when I was a kid, and they were doing. I don't know if the despot dictator ruler of Chile was Pinochet. Remember him?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, instead of pin the tail on the donkey, my mom's best friend and her husband had pinned the shit on Pinochet. So there's Pinochet on
That
the board,
is,
and all the kids
yeah.
did like bags of dog shit and a thing, and they blindfold them and put them around. And like, my parents are very liberal, but they're also, my mom's from Chicago, my dad's from Sioux City, Iowa. So like
Mm-hmm.
they're both teachers, and my dad taught at this place called MLC, which is short for Metropolitan Learning Center, and it's great, but it's also super hippy dippy. At one point while he was working there, they were like, "We're gonna have all the kids hold hands and hug the school," and they'll go all the way around. And my dad inside was just like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like
When
just
was that?
Jesus.
That was a long time ago.
It was probably like 20 years. I was an adult.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, Portland has kind of always had that. Always.
That is hysterical visual of the students holding hands, hugging the school.
It's just like, my dad's just like, it's too much. I can't handle it.
It is a little too much sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. I never say this, but on publicly, but it's really true. Like the stuff I see sometimes, I'm like, come on, it's a little, you're really reaching in there to find something offensive.
Yeah. And yeah, no, because I always say it this way, like, I definitely think you should be allowed to be offended. And it's that thing of like, oh, comedy, it's just jokes and things like that. But I will say this, like, so many people are looking for life to be Star Wars, and it's not Star Wars. You're not going to blow up the Death Star and all the bad stuff goes away. You're not going to, because it would, my point is, you don't save anything by destroying something. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
there's so many comedians that are saying all kinds of stuff that would definitely offend me, but if I go after them, that just throws gas on their fire. And also it is, I believe in free speech. So it's kind of,
I do too. I know. And you can dig up something we've all said and edit it and make it sound. I mean, I don't know. I just don't even want to go down that road because I've said some crazy shit just to get a reaction.
Yes, I know. I love it.
And plus we do character. Like you do a lot of characters. So people even get upset when I'm doing a character now sometimes.
Oh yeah. I know, right? Isn't that crazy?
They'll be like, well, so-and-so. I'm like, but I'm being another person and I'm not saying anything offensive. I'm literally mimicking someone.
Yes, you're doing an imitation of someone that said something to you.
Right. But that's not, I still do it. But people get upset about that. Do you do characters on stage?
Sometimes. I mean, the thing that popped into my head now, I remember my mother and I, we were in D.C., and we were at the newly opened Holocaust Museum, and we're in line.
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. There's certain images that just stay in my mind.
I know.
It's one of those things where they nailed it, like how to make it stay with you.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
It's so great. But we're in. This is gonna sound like I'm making this up. We're in line, and it's taken a long time because it just opened that weekend. So we know we're gonna be there a minute. We each have a coffee. We're hanging out, and a German guy. I'm not kidding.
I can't.
German guy in front of me. He says to me and my mother, and other people in line, just out loud, "If we're in Germany, this line would move a lot faster."
Oh.
And it never entered his head. He never thought of the implication.
People don't know.
And it's like, yes, you are a very mobile culture in Germany. The trains run on time. They're all about that, being on time and mobilizing and stuff. But just like, dude, not now. Read the room.
I should have taken a hot shower.
There are too many, in this line. No, too many what? Yeah.
Why is everyone not in striped pajama? I can't do the accent. I'm trying.
But I mean,
Yeah.
but it's like I've told like that story a little bit on stage, and I can see people's faces kind of crease, like,
I know. And you're like, it happened.
it happened.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think they believe that it happened. Maybe that's part of it. I think they're really questioning if we're telling the truth or not.
can you imagine how boring our lives would be if we just sat here at like our desk and we're like, what would be a funny thing to say is true? My daughter said to me, you know, like you're just hashing out bullshit, and like, because that's, I mean, I've said this so many times, it's but it bears repeating. There was a book that I read that was by a defense attorney, and he just said the truth just sounds different in court. Like when someone is like, that guy did it, and everyone's like, oh shit, like that person did it, that guy's serious. You know, it's the same thing with a comedian. When you
That's
see
so
someone
interesting.
when
Yeah.
like when you're going through something in your day and you're like, you just stop and you say to yourself, it's okay, I ate oatmeal. And then you're like, you had 7 spoonfuls of brown sugar. That's not oatmeal, that's pie.
Such a liar.
Because it's so real. You can see
It's so real.
so real. Because you didn't just go, wouldn't it be funny? 7, you know, it's like,
Right.
I don't know anyone who can lie and write that well, because everything we do has to be kind of from a standpoint of, you know, I want to be up here on stage, I want to tell you this story, like you gotta hear this is good, and it's real. There has to be, I mean, there's gonna be embellishments, of course, but I think it's also, most embellishments from my standpoint are like a guy, a woman looked like she was going to kill me. She wasn't really going to kill me, but she, you know, looked crazy.
Yeah.
Or a guy was flailing around in a bar and he looked like a monster. He looked huge. It's almost like your child mind, I think.
I love that. That's so true. And also, we just exaggerate. I mean, you just literally, it's like I don't put 7 scoops of brown sugar. I put 5. But if I say 7, that sounds a lot funnier than.
And it's like, I would say, maybe you had 6, maybe you had 7, maybe you had 5,
right,
maybe you had 4. But I think it's kind of like how they say like alcoholics can't count. How many beers you have? I had like 3. You had 19, Gary. You know, I don't know. Like it's like it's one of those things where it's like, in terms of, if I'm like in a buffet and there's like,
you had 19,
treats,
Gary.
I don't know how much I ate. I'm just like.
Could you imagine if you keep a ledger, like you're at a Shiva and you just write to, I had one piece of bacon. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Oh, my wife and I will watch, like, she watches like those Real Housewives shows.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of them that I'll watch too, because it's just fun to turn your brain off and go.
Yeah. Makes you grateful for your life.
And there's so much, they could buy and sell me 5 times over, but they're miserable. And they also, I mean, the only one I really like is Vanderpump Rules, because there's people that age are supposed to be getting drunk like that. Like Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, they're like 60 and still just getting college wasted. But there's a woman on one of the shows who is an accountability coach. So
that's great.
Accountability, not life coach. Just like someone who you're paying them to judge you, and they were born rich. They're born rich,
right?
And so she looks at you and goes, "Okay, you have this many daughters. You live in a place this big. And have you ever thought of really just applying yourself and working toward and you're like, I want to murder you so bad."
Yeah, of course.
An accountability coach. Oh God, yeah.
It's so, that's insane. Are you have like is that a iced coffee?
It is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you have when people make themselves cold drinks like that, you're gonna laugh, but it's very like self-care to me. Like do a lot of self-care stuff? Do you meditate?
I don't. Last week I found myself having to just kind of sit out on the back deck and just kind of meditate a little, just because I was hitting a level of anxiety with all the stuff that's going on. That was like, well, I'll just tell you, everything's fine, but you know, my parents are in their 70s and they live in Portland, and I'm the only child, and I already have what I jokingly call plug pullability. I mean, I am in charge if they go
plug pullability.
I don't know what to call it. People always wince, but I'm just like, I don't know what it's
You're the plug master.
Yeah, it's like power of attorney for someone's life.
Yeah,
And
no big deal.
My mom was just like, yeah, and speaking of no big deal, my parents are always they run a food pantry and they are always helping people. And now they're not doing anything with that. They're just staying in, which they just they don't do anything. I think my dad goes to the bank once a week. That's like his outing for the pantry. But anyway, long story long, she basically was like, we've decided if I get sick and your father gets sick to the point where we need ventilators, we don't want them. So we think they'd be better for someone else, and they wouldn't, work for someone our age. And I'm just like sitting there on the phone, and I'm getting sweaty eyed, I'm tearing up. And my mom, my wife comes out and is like, what did you hear? Like, what horrible news? And like, everyone's fine. I just have to, yeah, okay. So
yeah, that's hard
with everything and missing everyone and missing doing what, I mean, for what we do, it's so hard right now for us.
I know.
Because, comedians get no sympathy because everyone thinks they can do what we do, and they can't. But but
they do. You're right. They don't. People respect it, but some people are like, yeah, whatever. I can make people.
I got a cousin who's funnier than you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like we have to constantly do it to kind of stay vital, and also for our mental health. And
I know.
I said to my wife recently, I was like, I feel like a horse with his legs cut off. Like, I feel like they took my legs off and they put me in a big pillowy bed, and it's nice. I'm comfortable, but like, I want to run. And so it was just a combination of all that. And, to get that kind of phone call and everything. So it's just like, I
really understand that. I just want you to know, I feel the exact same way. Were you on the road like every week or a lot?
You pretty up in the end of last year and the beginning of this year, pretty constantly, at least every 2 weeks, every second weekend I was on the road. Which, I mean, I'm very lucky. I have a nice schedule where it's not constant, but I also can have a life, can see, my wife a lot. But it's funny that she travels a lot, I travel a lot, and we love it. We love being apart,
Yeah, I know. That's what saves a relationship a lot of the time. That's why there's going to be so many divorces now.
Yeah.
For people, I mean, you're stuck in a house together. It's hard. It's really, really. What does she do? What does your wife do?
She is my ex-manager, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, she discovered me back in 2007, and we started crossing lines you're just not supposed to cross. I was at her first wedding.
That's
what was I loaded? And we just had this on again, off again secret affair that all our friends knew about. And, I, to be honest, wasn't the best guy back then. I was kind of just like, it's casual. You get it, right? And
well, you weren't ready. It's okay.
Definitely. But like, you're right. And honestly, I wouldn't change anything because the way it ended up is great. We've been through it all. So it's kind of like, not that it's all, sunshine and gravy now, but it's so much better because we've been through all that bullshit. And we got married a couple of years ago, and we stopped working together when it became serious. Like when we were like, all right, we're a couple and we're together back in 2014. But it's great because she roots for me, I root for her, and it's nice to not have.
So she's the work still a manager. Yeah.
Yeah, she reps like Eliza Schlesinger and Reggie Watts and Rob Delaney.
Oh, cool.
Sam J. Yeah, a lot of great people. And she's got like a decent sized roster, but not bananas huge. Which right now with her company that she works for is they're doing okay. They had to lay off a couple people, but they're not like. Like WME was saddled with debt, and so it was like just a bloodbath.
I know. Same with Comedy Central and other places. They just got rid of like half the company.
So bad for so many people I've known for years, and just gone because of Viacom, and it's scary. It's a scary time.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and you guys, she is giving birth in 2 months.
Yeah.
That is so exciting.
And I'll be honest, I've never really talked about it on anything, not on like any other. I think this is, which is fine. When you asked me before, is there anything you want to talk about? I just, it's one of those things where I'm not, rather than go, oh, here's a great debut. It's like, I do a show on Zoom on Friday nights, which you have to come on sometime.
Anytime.
Okay.
I would love to.
It's with Kyle Kinane. It's called Hey Girl with Matt and Kyle, because when we've been on the road forever and we haven't seen each other, we call each other and go like, hey girl. It's like,
hey girl, what's up?
Exactly. It's a running gag. And so now we're hey girling each other and people. So we'd come on the show and we'd call people that would call in and see their houses and go, what's that? Go down the hallway. Who's that person? You know? So they have,
I love that.
Yeah. And we have cocktails and it's fun. But like, you know, my wife will walk in and just throw a beer down and go, why don't you guys shut up or something? And people are like, yeah, it's her. But you can tell. Like you can tell, you know, she's but no one said anything about it on social media. So anyway, yes. So yeah,
I've been very private about stuff like that. People are like, I mean, I show my kids now, but people are like, you know, why don't you ever it's just weird. I'm a little protective over the whole thing.
Yeah.
And plus, when she's pregnant for a long time, you don't want to say anything, of course. But now she's due in 2 months, so it's obviously completely fine. But
yeah, it's almost fully baked, as they say. You know, like I think about how, like, you know, Tom Segura and Christina Pazynski, they're very, very, very popular on their podcasts and like online, and you never see their kids ever.
I know.
Not one picture.
I know.
And I always thought that was really interesting, and that's probably how I'm gonna do it. You know, not that I'm that level of famous, but just to kind of have it's a little odd if you're just, because you know who I think of? Remember that guy who faked that his son was like trapped in that flying thing, and then we found out it was,
oh my God, yeah, what was that? I remember that kind of.
If you go through, he's made all these videos with these kids that are just like, you can tell in his mind he's like, that's going viral, yes, you know. And like, I never ever, I don't have that kind of mind, and I would hate to do that. I don't want to be like, this kid, this is gonna do it for me.
It's hard because my oldest is an actress and a singer, and and she's incredible, and she like has an agent and auditions all the time, and I never wanted her to get. Of course, I don't want her to go through this shit.
Right.
But she's so good, and I see how much she loves it. Like when she's singing, she looks like she's in heaven.
Oh, that's great.
And so it's an outlet for her, but it's still like, I always feel weird, you know, just because there's weird people out there. There's very weird people. It's
a strange thing. It's a strange business. It's great in a lot of ways, but I think people have to. I mean, if she's your kid, I'm sure she has a decent head on her shoulders, and I'm sure she has.
She does,
and she's doing it. It sounds like she's doing it for the love of it, because you're not. I have friends who have kids who are divas, and I see their eyes glaze over when they're like, "Well, yeah, she really wants to," and you were like, "Oh, this person is just looking at TMZ all day. This person is wants," and that you're screwed if you come at it from that perspective.
Not at all. I really don't. Like, I was like, oh, this is going to be horrible, the rejection. And it's so hard because she comes close for a lot of stuff. And then she'll get a call back and then she gets disappointed. But it's weird. They just go through it. Like, she'll just be fine the next day. Whereas we're like devastated. She doesn't get like that. And it's more my feelings about it, like that I'm projecting onto her.
Yeah.
Because she's like, oh, I didn't get it. Maybe I'll get the next one. And I'm crushed for her. Because I know what it feels like to be rejected for so many years. We both do.
Yeah, it's. I won't say it never gets easier. It gets easier, but it is there. Every once in a while, there's that one, and you're like, "Damn it! I wish I didn't want this one so bad." Damn.
I know.
You know, because it's like how in Buddhism, you know, desire is the root of all pain. So if you want something, you're gonna hurt for it and things like that. And
that's so true.
And it's always those people. I've been in the audition rooms where I'd look over and there's another guy, and it just looks like he couldn't give a living fuck.
I know.
I'm like, that guy's getting it. Look at him.
That's true.
Yep.
That's totally true. What's the thing that was the most disappointing? Was it because you were on MadTV, which is amazing. That was my dream to be on a sketch show.
Oh.
But how was that? It must have been unbelievable.
Well, I hope you should be. I mean, you should pitch a sketch show or something. We should be on a sketch show together.
Yeah, you and I should talk for sure. There's other people too who are incredibly talented who would be perfect on, especially now.
I didn't know that about you. When you said that, I was like, oh, because I've had a couple friends that have done, either sketch pilots and it's that thing that all these places, every platform you can think of, they're all kind of trying to crack the code. So like,
I know. I don't know why it's so hard. It
it's
seems
just
like sketch should be so like not that difficult. I'm
right.
surprised.
I think most people kind of fall into the lane of being way too niche or
Yeah.
no theme at all.
Right.
You know, because you got to draw people in and got to have some kind of hook. You know, but it's kind of like, oh, what's too hooky, what's not, so that they're all just kind of trying to. But like, I will say, Mad. The funny thing was, we got canceled on my day off, so I was at
Oh
home.
God.
Yeah, which I'm like, did I dodge a bullet? In the end, I feel like I dodged a bullet.
Right.
Because I was at
Right.
home, and Eric Price, who I will say, this was the very cool thing about us back then, is that I was one of two white males, the whole cast. That's it.
I remember that.
And I was
I do.
looking back, I was like, good for you guys for doing that. But he called me. He was like, yeah, they called us all into the conference room. Everybody, you know, carpenters, painters, wardrobe guys. Sorry. And I was like, whoa. Like, part of me wishes I was there, but like, just, I mean, the joke I made back then was like, we're actors, we're supposed to be out of work, but like, these are real working people. Like, they have jobs doing a thing. So that was super disappointing. But it's also just the times. I'd say the harder thing is if I've developed an idea with somebody and it keeps getting traction, and it gets all the way to,
I know,
fourth, fifth script, and they're like, all right, now we're going to make a pilot, or we're not. We'll call you in 3 weeks or whatever. And then I remember going to Sonoma, going to wine country for my birthday with like some friends, and just my then manager he just texted me that like, so I guess you probably heard, sorry, showtime passed. And I was like,
I know.
How would I have heard that, man? And
where are you hearing that? The cleaners?
Yeah,
you're just gonna go to the cleaners.
I mean, it was just he thought someone else at the management company called me, but it was just like I remember that just being a kick in the chest, because it was, and it's one of those ones that we've talked to executives that are still like, yeah, sometimes I wish we would have gone with it. I'm like, God, I'll murder you. You know.
Yeah, people don't realize the steps you have to take to make a show work and to keep a show on air. It's a miracle. When a sitcom works, or a sketch or anything, it's an absolute miracle that it ended up staying on. It's really like most of the stuff that's good doesn't go anywhere.
No.
And you have to try 50 things to get one to work, and then you could be on once, and I'll never forget Tom Papa had a sitcom or something, and then it was on twice, and I was like, what are they doing? They spent millions of dollars to make this thing, and they're just doing it for 2 weeks. Like, I couldn't even believe it.
And Tom's was the only one I've ever read that, because you know every comedian is doing the same thing where they're like, it's about a comedian on the road. Next, like no one. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop right there. You could shoot yourself like a documentary or something like that. Great. But in terms of a sitcom, it is the most unrelatable life. You know, you might as well like,
it really is.
I mean, you're like, it's a guy who travels farm to farm gelding horses. Like, that's, no one knows what that's like either. Not really. So you have to concentrate on the family. And Tom's was such a great hook, because his was a guy who was always on the road, who was like, I'm going to take time off from the road to be with my family. And his family is like, we like things the way they are, man. Stay on the road. You know, and him having this crisis. And there was a kid that I went in for this part that I quote this all the time from when you're first on the road. His friend was a guy who was a locksmith who had one of those vans full of like keys and stuff.
Yeah. And candy.
Yeah. And he has like 9 kids, and he hates his life. And he's like, you know what? Like, when he finds out that Tom's going to come off the road for a while, he's like, you know what? He's so jealous of his life. He's like, sometimes when times get so rough and my kids are screaming at me, I just lock myself in a van and think about you on the road, drinking all that free Marriott coffee. That line, all that free Marriott coffee, it was exactly it. Because when you first start doing stand-up and you're on the road and you're in a hotel that they paid for, and there's that coffee pot,
it's heaven.
You're like, I get to have any I want, as much.
I can have hot cocoa. Do you know I don't even like hot cocoa, and I take the packets. I take everything I can. That's how I grew up.
Yeah.
I'll come home and my wife's like, "Why do you have stirs and creamer?" I'm like, "I take banana. I take everything I."
Oh yeah. Why wouldn't you? You just
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't, and maybe it's my Jewish upbringing. I don't know what it is, but I do feel like if it's there and it's free, like packets of oatmeal,
yeah.
fuck it. I'm taking it for my next breakfast.
Well, don't you always kind of feel in the back of your mind this could all just be over? You know, like we could.
Of course. Well, now it is.
Well, I know now it is. Or at
No,
least
it's
on
not
pause, hopefully. Knock on wood.
Yeah, it's not forever, but it's a really. Have you been doing a lot of Zoom shows?
You know, not a lot. Besides the one I do with Kyle is more of like a happy hour show. It's like we just talk. But I did Zoom, I did stand up, like just straight up stand up once. And then I did one where I read a thing. Like I did a joke that I was like, I come to the show all the time, and I love that you guys are online now. Because I take my daughter and she's not really talking to me, so I wanted to read this to her. And so I'm angry with her for not doing TikToks with me, you know, and I'm screaming, right. I'm hitting the wall. So I made it more of a, like if I do stuff like that, I'm actually doing a hot tub tonight, and I have a thing that I've written.
Thank you so much to all of my Patreon members for supporting the podcast.
All right, hold up. Could you take a little off the P's? You're hitting them too hard. Not action.
Thank you so much to all of my Patreon members for supporting the podcast.
Hold on. Now you're whispering Patreon. Is there a reason you're whispering?
Well, you said to take the
somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
You ready? Action.
Thank you so much to all of my Patreon members.
Now you got to pause.
For those of you who don't know, Patreon members, is that okay?
It was perfect. Why'd you stop?
Oh, okay. Patreon members.
Cut. Let's go back to the beginning.
Thank you
and action.
Thank you so much to all my Patreon members for supporting the podcast. For those of you who don't know, Patreon members get early access to the podcast, ad-free episodes, and access to monthly live streams where we talk more about...
All right, let's take it back to the beginning. That was perfect. Do it exactly like that.
I just did it well, though, but why are you starting over? Thank you so much to all of my patron...
Cut. Why are you screaming?
Because I'm just trying to get through this.
Action.
Thank you so much to all of my... Thank you so much to all of my Patreon members. For those of you who don't know, Patreon members get early access to the podcast.
Perfect. Keep going.
There's so many P's.
Keep going. Keep going.
Ad-free episodes.
You could cut this out, right?
For those of you who don't know, Patreon members get early access to the podcast, ad-free episodes, and access to monthly live streams where we talk more about being relatively sane.
Hold up. Did we agree on monthly live streams?
Yes, you told me I should do them because it'll get more members.
I don't know how to do a monthly live stream.
Don't you just talk in your phone?
We'll figure it out. Come on, let's get through this. We have to go. We should speed this up.
All right. Thank you so much to all my Patreon members for supporting this podcast. For those of you who don't know, Patreon members get early access to the podcast, ad-free episodes, and access to monthly live streams. We don't know what that is, but whatever, where we talk about being relatively sane. If you want to join our fantastic community that is so corny, go to patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. That's patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. That's Patreon.
I think you said patriot.com.
Go to patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. That's patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. Patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. Thanks again.
And cut. That's a wrap.
Ugh. Like, I love how different and creative you are, because I'm like that too. And I felt like I started feeling like, I know this sounds gross because I'm so grateful for what I do.
Please be
and
gross.
I get to travel, and I don't have to sit in an office but like I started feeling like I was just doing this stand up every week. Like, I was getting bored. I have to be honest with you. I was phoning it in a lot, complaining a lot, negative. And since I've been home, I'm not writing stand up, but I feel like I'm being more like what I like to do, like nuts and crazy, like doing stuff from the closet and smelling. Like, I'm just doing the craziest shit now. Awesome. And I'd rather do that than just get on stage, do 45 minutes, say hello to the audience, get on stage, do another 45. It was getting really, I wasn't enjoying it that much. I'm being honest.
Yeah, about a year and a half ago, I definitely hit a wall where I realized I was kind of just like going through the motions, and I'm going like, I got to check in with myself in a different way, and learn to kind of love this again,
Mm-hmm.
you know, after doing it for 20 years. And, you know, I mean, luckily I had a heavy schedule up through March. And I remember being in Ann Arbor and being on the phone with my agent and being like, I'm not saying you should come home today before your shows tonight, but they might close LAX. I'll keep you posted. I'm like,
I was crazy.
I'm just losing it. So
Mm-hmm.
as much as this time has driven me crazy, I think a break is not a bad thing for all of us.
It's not.
You know, it's if we are good, you know, good at our jobs. It's,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I mean, Sam Morrill had a really funny thing he wrote that was like, it takes 10 years to get good at stand up. It gets 2 weeks to be bad.
That was amazing. I love that text. I mean, that tweet too, because it's so true. I am so rusty.
Me too.
I mean, when I did some Zoom shows and I did my material and I was like, I don't even remember my act. Literally, I could not remember any of my jokes. I mean, it's very important for us to like stay on it, and it's tough right now to do that. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to go back on the road at some point and have an act.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, luckily you're not, you know, known as queen of the one-liners, and I'm not king.
I know.
It's observational.
Matt,
You will look at someone in the audience and go, I'm just going to talk
mm-hmm.
about you for a little while. You know, it's great.
You're going to crack up. I do these Zoom shows and I look, which you would be perfect for this too. So I'm going to, anyway, I look at these pictures in the boxes and I do crowd work. I'm like, Steve, I'm sorry to wake you, but there's a show going on, and everyone dies laughing.
That's great.
It's Matt. You could do it for an hour. It's like I don't even have to. It's my favorite thing now.
That's genius.
Yeah, it's so. And a lot of times they're muted, so they can't even respond. So it's even better. You're just, and I'm never mean. You know, you're probably not either. I'm only mean to people if they're mean to me, and then I can ruin someone. Yeah, but I'm never like, I will never just make fun of someone to be mean ever.
No.
But like, I'll just see someone's head. I'm like, Sarah, are you passing out? Like, I just talk about them, and it's great. Mm-hmm. It helps a lot because I feel like I'm still connected.
Yeah, and it's back to the thing I said about the truth just sounds different in court. It's like you being in the moment is what people want. They don't want you to come kind of like, there's nothing like it when you see a comedian, they're doing a joke they've done obviously 400 times. And in the middle of it, they just drop it and go, I don't think my wife loves me. I'll be on it. And they're like, whoa.
I do that shit all the time. You probably do too. I'm always.
Yeah. I mean, I'll do something probably a little more absurd, you know, but like, yeah, to be like, I'm going to share this thought, you know, like just, did you know praying mantises eat birds? The fuck, did you know this? You know, just something, because it's all about what you're caring about that moment.
I know.
And when
I found out, what were you gonna say?
When someone's doing a joke they've done, like they're doing their, you know, they're set for Conan on Zoom into the thing, you're like, this is so weird.
It's so weird. So anyway, you know, when it's like the strangest thing. What's your dream? Like, is it to have a sketch show, your own sketch show?
Boy,
like what would be your dream gig when this is all over?
Wow. Do you mean like,
or something you'd love to do?
I would say if I can just keep having a viable business on the road, if we can get back to that where people can still sit close to each other, and I was getting pretty steady. I'd like to get a couple things I've written, you know, produced, and just continue to kind of do character work, you know, that what I've always done. I'm not someone who's going to be like the main guy on the poster with his goofy friend behind him going, like, I'm going to be this guy, but like,
right.
You know, but it's like, I'm happy doing that. I like being put in a bunch of different stuff. And just honestly, I really just love working with other creative people that have different viewpoints than me in terms of how to approach art. It's really fun. That's why I love hanging backstage with other comedians and talking about their acts when they get off or I get up or whatever. And, you know, it's to me, it's kind of like being a low grade trapeze artist with all of us. We're just like, I like how you did that triple flip and the Lindy, and then you caught your arm, and and then you did that, spin or whatever. And we're all kind of scared a little bit because we're all going in front of the animals out there.
Mm-hmm.
But, I love just messing around with everybody and being like if I saw you, I'd be like, do you want to switch sets? Like, can I do your set and you do mine?
I know. I love that. So I love how you're free. You're not so like we're very similar that way. I'm when I get set and stuff. That's why I said the stand up was starting to get, because I need to be able to just be nutty and switch things up.
I love how silly it is. I love,
yeah.
I remember being backstage at, I think maybe the second year I was at Just for Laughs in Montreal, and with all these comics, and a couple of them are real nervous, and I'm just about to go on, and I'm like, here I go to eat shit, and just went on stage.
Yeah.
And it was fun just to yell that, just to be like, guys, who gives a fuck, man? It's just, let's just have fun,
Well, that's when you're that's when you really, I think, soar as a comic, whether it's creatively or in your career, is when you don't care anymore. I at a certain point, it was the most freeing thing when I'm like, I actually hope this doesn't go well, because it's more entertaining to me to just be like just doing stuff and have people go, is she okay? Like people look so confused, and it makes me laugh so hard.
Yes.
Have you always been silly? Were you were a silly kid?
Always. Yeah. Class clown, just to make friends would be doing dumb jokes. Definitely was annoying to girls up until maybe high school, kind of thing. But it wasn't until I was always like an actor when I was a kid. And then when I got to out of college and I went to Chicago, that's when I fell in with stand-up comedians. And I was like, oh, this feels better. This fits. Yeah, I remember because I graduated with a degree in theater, and the head of the theater department was like, you should go to this Shakespeare intensive graduate program. And it was that thing where I was like, I don't want to. Like, I respect Shakespeare and people that do it and real acting so much. And it's like, maybe I would have been a great thing for me, but I kind of wanted to do something more dick aroundish, and improv was kind of that, but I also hated how it was, as one guy put it, my one bowl of stand up beats your 7 bowls of improv,
yeah.
And I still love improv, but it's so team oriented. With stand up, I liked kind of being the lone gun. I liked kind of just being around people and having one of the biggest crocs ever is that all comedians hate each other. No, we're jealous of each other.
I don't even know where that came from, because it's so not the case for anyone listening. Like, we really are a family. Even if you don't, there's comedians, when I go on Twitter and see what they write, I want them to burn in a fire, but I would never say it publicly because we're family.
Right.
And I respect their right to say it, but it's really, I don't agree with it, but I still understand it and respect it.
Right. Yeah. Because they can say anything they want, and it is funny. It is like we're family, because there's comedians that people would probably be really surprised I'm friends with, but I don't really have a problem with anybody. I kind of, my way I look at all art, whether it's comedy or anything else, is sometimes it's just not for me.
Right.
Do I hate that comedian that's so huge they're, playing arenas and things like that? No. I might not be into exactly what they do, but who the fuck am I? Like,
I know, it's so nasty. It's starting to get a little nasty.
Yeah.
I'm noticing it. It's starting to get, I think, because people are freaking out, comics are freaking out and very fearful of not being able to work. And then now everyone's desperate because most people aren't making any money. So they're starting to get more jealous and more like, how come he's doing this and I'm not? And it's not a great business move, because things are going to turn around.
Yeah.
We are going to go back on the road. You don't bite the hands that feed you.
Yeah.
I really believe that. So I'm sure you never know who's going to help me. It's normally been a comic who's helped me.
Yeah. I mean, when I started out, there's a guy who, I won't say his name, but he's a pretty big manager now, but he was like kind of starting out back then. And when I moved to LA, he was like, best advice I can give you, just be nice to everybody. And I was like,
Yeah.
I am anyway. But you don't want to be that person that sticks in someone's craw, because we are so petty and we're so self-centered, and
I know
but hopefully we rise above that, our better selves and all that. But you don't want to give someone an excuse to just dislike you for no reason because you got stepped on, so you want to step on someone else. You want to do that hazy shit and just keep the cycle of child abuse going.
Yeah, you're so right. And also the political stuff is dividing people, of course, comics even. That's going to divide everybody. This is a very serious. Hi.
Here's the wife.
Sorry.
Here's Jessica.
Oh.
That's okay. Hi. Hi. We're on an audio podcast, but people are also watching this on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Hi. I know Jim.
Hi. Yeah, Jim. Well, Jim turns it on for me and then leaves, and everyone. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, he records it, and then all the comics are like, "Did Jim like it?" I'm like, "He's not on. He's not listening. It's okay."
If I listened to all of my clients' podcasts, like I literally would have no time to do work.
Yeah.
I know, of course. Well, congratulations. You look amazing.
Thanks.
Don't you?
I need a pen. Sorry.
Yeah, I look 10 times the size of her, and I've never been pregnant. I've been. Yeah, I never had one of my daughters. I impregnated 2 baby mamas.
Okay.
I'm like a rapper. Yeah. I say that all the time.
Do you say that on stage?
Yeah. I say I'm a Jewish rapper. I'm a japper. That's what I say. Were you always known, Matt, as like the nice guy? Like you're just the nicest person. I mean, you might be a total dick. I don't know.
No,
but you just
like... it's one of those things I like getting along with people. I'm not I joke that I'm just like, everyone knows I'm a real bad boy, but it's like, I'll say that on stage and get a laugh,
Yeah,
like
right. Cause they know.
But I will say this, like I did, Kill Tony. I do that show every once in a while, with Tony Hinchcliffe, where comedians come on and he just shreds them. They do like 2 minutes and he shreds them. The audience loves it. And I can't, I can't do it, but I can't be like, you suck, bro, get off.
I can't either.
Tim Dillon is great at that shit, but I'm like, that's not, I love Tim, I love Tony, I love all those guys, but it's just like, I am like, when I'm on that show, I am kind of the nice guy, and people get into it, but it's just like, I'm not going to go. My thing is, if I did say something mean and meant it, it wouldn't be funny. And people would be like,
that's exactly how I am.
Take it easy.
The worst thing I ever did in my entire career was the Comedy Central, the roast against Todd Barry when they had the one-on-one.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's, Todd and I are friendly, but we're not like good friends. So it really was from like a hostile place. And I was freaking out of having to be across from someone being mean to them and having someone be mean. First of all, I'm mean enough to myself. I don't need someone to stand across from me and tell me what's wrong with me. All I do is judge myself. So that's not going to do anything. Also, I don't want to be mean to someone else, but you have to be, or else it's not funny. So I was panicking before I did that. I almost left before they started filming. And I'll never, I was the one thing I was like, you don't want to do this. You feel uncomfortable. You feel sick to your stomach. And you said yes. And it's a nightmare. You're going to hate it.
Yeah. But you're trying to get your, hate to say it, your brand out there. Like,
yes.
You don't really say no to stuff. You gotta work. The problem with all that roast stuff, and it's great. And I'm good friends with Mike Lawrence, who won the whole thing.
I love him.
I love him too, but he's not a mean guy. And
I know.
He said after it was over that everyone wanted him to keep doing that. He's like, I'm a writer. I'm good at that. But it's like, that's not where my heart lies. I want to do this. And not that it held him back, but there were people online who were like, oh man, you suck. It's like, I'm not going to do what you want me to do. And you nailed it when you said, I know him, but I don't really know him. The way roasts work best is if you love the person and you know them well. We did a thing with me and all the Chicago guys, Kyle Kinane, Camille Nanjiani, John Roy, Pete Holmes, Hannibal. We all did this roast of each other, and it was the most fun I've ever had because we were so mean, but but it's like, I remember being up there crying, laughing, because it was stuff that had built up over like 15, 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Where we're, I remember, John Roy he's such a loud guy, and he gets this, and I was like, John Roy has a movie coming out, extremely loud and incredibly close. Shut up, John. And it was just fun doing, because it was like, watch those ones with Rickles and Johnny Carson, and Joan Rivers. They tear into each other because they know each other so well. They know where the chinks in the armor is. So you doing that with Todd, it's like, you can dump on Todd, but it's just not it doesn't feel right.
It didn't feel right. And I had to actually text him before and talk to him and be like, please don't talk about this. And please don't. And they're major things. Don't get me wrong. It was not like, please don't talk about my comedy or my looks. It was like, don't talk about my stepsister being sick. Please don't talk about my daughter having heart issues. Like, it was a whole. And then I was freaking out. Like, I can't believe I'm doing something where I have to ask someone not to talk about these horribly depressing things on national TV.
Right.
Like, why am I even doing this?
Yeah. Well, I think if I may, from just a clinical standpoint, because you're a woman, because in comedy as a woman, especially in the roast culture, like you watch any of those Comedy Central roasts, there'll be like one woman, and if she's not a comedian, they're just making jokes about her pussy or about,
I know.
It's so uncreative, and it's gross in that it's so simplistically boring. Does that make any sense?
It is so boring. You're right. No, it's so boring to me.
For the right reasons. Oh, she's a slut. Whoa, holy shit.
Right.
What a great put down. You dudes who run out there and probably fuck anything. Like, stop. Because that's always it.
Yeah,
like,
your crotch is itchy.
Yeah.
And you're calling me
exactly.
a whore.
Yeah. Because that's always how it is. They'll have like one, they'll have, very funny female comedians, like Sarah or Amy, that are great and can hold their own. And they'll have like an actress friend of this actor they're working with.
It's horrible.
And she just catches so much hell. And all of it is just because they haven't done any research into her that's interesting or anything. So it'll just be like, you're a slut, and you're another one is like, if she's older than 35, about like, oh, you're barren. It's just like, Jesus Christ, is everything built around a woman's genitalia and reproductive function? That's all you can think of?
I really hope not.
You're like an 8-year-old boy.
I know, it's pathetic. It's so pathetic, and people laugh at it. That's even worse. There are
they
people
laugh,
who
but
laugh
not
at
that
them.
hard. You can tell them.
You're right. Yeah.
I ate something that isn't agreeing with me. That you.
Yeah.
Fed. That's how it feels.
Yeah, I don't laugh. I've never laughed at that stuff. It's not interesting or creative to me.
No. It's just
tell people.
lazy.
Yeah.
Sorry,
well, tell people. No, it's okay. Tell people where they can listen to your podcast and watch your show.
Oh yes,
and all that stuff right now.
I gotta have you on the pod. It's called This Might Help. We're taping new episodes now. We just had like all this upheaval because I had a just like legal stuff, because my old podcast, I had to part ways with my old producer, who is great. Long story long. So that's coming out. Where basically I'll have you on the show, and we'll listen to people who have called in and left messages, and we'll hear them for the first time together and offer advice. And they're usually really weird or a lot of sincere ones, but they're fun. And we don't let anyone on who's like obviously doing a dumb character, and we're like, all right. Yeah. You didn't actually just try to fist yourself. Ha, I get it. Ha, ha.
I know, it's all so boring. I mean, who cares if you fist yourself anyway? Who cares?
I did have one guy though, and it sounds real. I don't know if it's real or not, but I'm treating it real. That before quarantine, him and his girlfriend bought a vibrator together, and now they're separated, and they're afraid to see each other. And he's like, "Can I still use this on myself?" And it was kind of like that, of like saving television for each other. Like, did you watch Dead to Me? You watched it? You watched that together. You used the dildo.
That's funny.
So it's funny. Yeah. So there's that. Kyle Conan and I started Hey Girl with Matt and Kyle. You can watch that on holdthephone.tv on Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific. Every week we raise money for a different COVID-related charity.
Oh wow.
And or last week before last was for Planned Parenthood, but still they need the money now more than ever. But it's just always something, and then it goes to our Patreon to keep the show moving, so people can either watch live and donate as we go. And if you donate, we'll call you, we'll go to your house and mess with you and stuff and make fun of your apartment. But so there's that, and then I have an album out called Please Hold Me that people can stream on all platforms, and all my dates have been pushed to fall and winter. We'll see if they happen.
Yeah.
But how about you with your dates?
I love Please Hold Me. That's such a great name.
Thanks.
It's such a great name for an album. I love that.
It's kind of just making fun of being a 40-something dude who it's the wildest thing when you don't want to be single in a bar at my age because you're grosser than the gross 20-something. Because 20-something guys are out for sex, which is gross, but it's a acceptable level of gross. Guys my age are out for companionship. So it's just like, what's grosser? A guy going, I want to see some tits, or a guy my age being like, please hold me, please.
That person for sure.
He just wants to buy a ring for a woman. Please come. Please listen to my dreams.
And they don't stop talking. I know. But the name of my corporation is Please Like Me Productions.
Oh, that's perfect.
For 20 years. Yeah, it's true. It's amazing.
Anytime I get into anything legal, I have to pronounce mine exactly because mine is Open Robe Incorporated.
The names of all of our corporations
put it on
are
the phone,
great.
like legal or something, like, is it Open Road? Like, no. It's a robe. I love all our different corporate names.
I know.
Like Baron Vaughn's.
They're great.
Baron Vaughn's is Scary Black Man. He's like the most non-scary black
I
man.
know. I've heard some of the funniest names for some of these corporations from comedians. They're hysterical. I should really look into that because I've heard some where they've made me laugh out loud. Open Robe is amazing.
Thanks. Yeah. When my last special, I self-produced it. And I made a shingle for it where it's like me at the door with a glass of wine and I have a robe on. And this girl who was working in the engineer booth, I just got her into the mic go, gross. So that's the only thing.
That's
like
great.
The shingle goes up and it's this female voice goes, gross. Like,
that's great. You're amazing. We literally become like peers online. I just love watching your stuff.
Yours
you're
too.
just
I pay you the highest compliment where I'm just like, oh, you're a wild animal. You're a monster.
Yeah, I am.
I love it.
Thank you.
Well, I love it because you attack the stage and you have so much fun and you have that thing that I have where I'm like, I don't want to waste anyone's time, including my own.
That's true.
You know what I mean? You're not that person who gets up and is just like, what's going on? What is this? Like, okay.
Well, give them a show. They're paying for a show. Give them a show. Yeah, I do.
It's fantastic. So yeah, I love.
Thank you.
I'm so glad we had a chance, even if this wasn't a podcast, just to hang out for an hour.
It wasn't just to let you know this was all set up just to hang out with you and get to know each other.
I am so flattered.
You're awesome. I can't wait to work with you in the future. And thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Jessica. This was a blast.
And congratulations.
Thank you. I'm psyched.
Awesome. See you soon.
See you soon, buddy.
Bye.